Be greeted, grade 11s and 12s. This is Elton from Maths and Science series. Today we'll be doing Newton's laws, but before we continue the lesson, do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. There are three laws for us to know how to define them: the first law, second law, and the third law of Newton's. So in this video, we will only focus on the first law, or Newton's first law. States that a body will remain in a state of rest or uniform velocity unless it is acted upon by an unbalanced force. What does that mean? Let me just explain this definition to us all to understand. As it says that a body will remain in a state of rest. In other words, a body will remain in a state of no motion or uniform velocity unless it is acted upon by an unbalanced force. So for a body or for an object to move, there must be unbalanced forces which are exerted or applied on that body or on that object. So unbalanced forces are forces that are not equal. So for an object to move, there have to be unbalanced forces being applied or exerted on that body or on that object. So if we can apply balanced forces on a body or on an object, the object will never move, but it will remain in a state of rest. So for it to move, we must do what? We must apply unbalanced forces on that particular body or an object. For an example, for a car to move, that car, it must be exerted by unbalanced forces for it to start moving. But if we can apply balanced forces or equal forces on that car will never move, because for an object to move, there must be unbalanced forces to be applied on that particular car. I don't know if you understand what am I explaining here. A body will remain in a state of rest or uniform velocity a body will remain in a state of rest or uniform velocity unless, so if we apply or if we make unbalanced forces to act on that body, the body will not remain in a state of rest. I don't know if you understand that, guys. For an example, let me say you are hungry. Now if you don't eat, you will remain hungry, but if you eat, you won't remain hungry. So it's something like that. But here we're not talking about food, but we are talking about forces. I don't know if you get that. So you must know how to define this Newton's first law, or all the laws. You must know how to define them. But as we are dealing with Newton's first law here, define it as the way it is written there on the screen of your phone. A body will remain in a state of rest or uniform velocity unless it is acted upon by an unbalanced force. So a body will not move if balanced forces have acted on that body or on that object. We have something known as inertia, and inertia is the property of a body that enables it to resist change in its state of motion. The property of a body that enables the body to resist change in its state of motion. So for an example, I don't know if you have ever noticed this. For an example, a stationary car, a car that is not moving, and there are occupants or there are people inside the car. So as the car starts to move forward, you tend to move backward. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. Or immediately the car starts to move, you tend to move backward. or when the car turns to the right, you tends to go to the left. So that's called inertia, or it enables your body to resist change in its state of motion. So a stationary car is about to move. So as it moves, you will go backward as the car is going forward. So make sure that you check that, and it is inertia, or that thing that is making you to go backward, opposing the direction of the car. It is called the inertia. And inertia, it is not a force. Inertia is not a force. So it is the property of a body that enables it to resist change in its state of motion. So Newton's first law is not a long concept, if I can say, but let's continue and see how far we get. Now, what happens to the occupants of the car as the car is moving? Now, what you need to understand is that if a person is in a moving vehicle or a moving car, so that person travels at the same velocity as the vehicle or of the vehicle. For an example, the vehicle is traveling at 60 kilometers per hour. Even the people inside the vehicle are traveling at that same velocity as of the vehicle or as of the car. So if the car suddenly stops, the person continues to travel at that 60 kilometers per hour due to his inertia. So a car traveling at 60 kilometers per hour, if it suddenly stops, the person continues to travel at the same velocity or the same 60 kilometers per hour due or because of his inertia. So I don't know if you pay attention to these. When a car encounters accident, let me say it brakes or it stops. The car had already stopped, but the person is moving to crashing through the windscreen. Why is that happening? It is because the force is not applied on the occupant of the car, but it is applied on the car. So that is why, as they were traveling at that 60 kilometers per hour, the velocity of the car, the driver suddenly stops the car. He didn't apply the force or the braking force on the occupants or on the person inside the car, but he applied the force on the vehicle. So that is why the person continues to move, because there were no forces, or there was no force that was applied to him to bring him to a stop. So he continues due to his inertia. I don't know if you guys understand that. As the person in the car continued to move in that 60 kilometers per hour, the velocity of the car, as the car stops, the person will continue moving. So that's where safety belts perform a very important function in protecting that person or the occupants of a vehicle from their own inertia when it suddenly stops or when it suddenly comes to a stop. Now, it is very important to know that whenever you get inside a car or inside a vehicle, you must know why do you put safety belts. So this is what we're going to discuss now. I hope, and I think this is the last part of the Newton's first law. So the importance of safety belts or seat belts. So they perform a very important function, but how? So a safety belt is not on the car seat just to decorate the seat or the car, but it keeps a person in his seat and prevents him from crashing through the windscreen and being thrown out of the vehicle. As the car now it suddenly stopped. Now the person will continue moving with that same velocity of the car, 60 kilometers per hour. If the car was moving in 60 kilometers per hour, so that person, when the car suddenly stops, that person will continue to move forward. So the importance or the role that is done by the seat belt, it prevents that person not to go forward as the car is suddenly stopped, but to keep that person in his seat and prevents him from crashing through the windscreen and from being thrown out of the vehicle. That was the last part of Newton's first law. So it's very important for you to know how to define it and the applications of Newton's first law. The most important thing in Newton's laws, it is that you must know the definition of every term and understand its definition. What does it mean? So the key thing in Newton's laws, for you to understand the topic as a whole, you must know the definition and understand what does the definition mean when it says a body will continue in a state of rest or uniform velocity unless it is acted upon by an unbalanced force. So it is very important for you to know that that's a key in Newton's laws, because even when we do calculations, you will see Newton's second law. When you do calculation, you must understand the definition of whatever term that we're dealing with here in Newton's law. So it's very important. The key is for you to know the definition and understand what the definition states. Yeah, so we will upload Newton's second law, which is the law which includes calculations. So we'll send it, but please do not forget to subscribe, like, share and comment. So we are going to upload Newton's second law very soon so that you can understand everything on calculations. So please subscribe to the channel as a way of thanking us for sending you guys lessons. Yes, remember, this is Elton from Maths and Science series. We thank you guys. We thank those who have already subscribed to the channel. And do not forget that it is not a crime when you share the links to other people. But the most important thing, guys, in Newton's law, as I've said, is for you to know how to define and understand what is it that you are saying or what is it that you are defining. It is very important. It is very important. So thank you guys. Thank you guys and good luck. I hope you understood the lesson of Newton's first law. So it is always 2 marks. If you do not know how to define Newton's first law, you must know that you have already lost 2 marks. So you guys, you can cram lyrics of a song of maybe 10 minutes but you can't just know a definition. But I urge you guys to know how to define, because it is 2 marks, and 2 marks something, it's something. Alright, thanks.